My sister-in-law was like, just find something that you want to do. I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I literally want to be at home on my farm, taking care of my house, cleaning my house, taking care of my dogs. How am I supposed to tell someone that that's what I want to do? I don't want to work. I don't want to do any kind of job. I literally don't. Like, how am I supposed to tell someone? That's what makes me happy. Not working and being at home. And I literally have to work. Oh my gosh, dude. What the fuck?
Well, here we go again. Decades of screaming about the patriarchy completely vanishes when the 6 a.m. alarm goes off for these women. They spent years hyping up the independent girl boss lifestyle, but now that reality hits, begging for a male bailout looks like a brilliant escape hatch. Men see right through this massive grift and absolutely won't sponsor a permanent vacation for someone who only respects traditional roles when it's time to dodge a shift. Women fought for the corporate ladder, so now they get to put their boots on, clock in, and pay their own bills.
Hot take, but I don't want to work anymore. God has completely removed that boss babe mentality from me. I desire nothing more than to be provided for. Now let me say, if somebody's providing for you, I truly believe though that you are serving them and serving your family. I don't want somebody to just be providing for me and I'm like laying on the couch doing nothing. I want to serve my family if my husband is providing for me. And it's so funny because for so many years I had this super masculine, I want to be a boss babe and I want to do all these things and I still enjoy what I do. I run I'm a hairstylist. I run a small business and I make content on the side and I love what I do. It brings me so much joy to spread the gospel online and I get to make people feel pretty all day. It's a privilege and an honor to do my job. However, with that being said, I would much rather be cooking and cleaning for my husband and running my kids to soccer practice. If I had to choose one or the other, I'm for sure every time going to choose my husband and my family. That I don't even have yet, but I know that the Lord puts the desire, he knows the desires of our heart because he puts them there. So it's just funny that the Lord will completely change the way that you think.
Massive burnout finally broke the illusion, and women are frantically trying to walk back the entire boss babe movement. They figured out the corporate grind is an absolute trap, but this grand realization is arriving way too late to save a permanently broken system. The cultural foundation is already completely cooked, and begging for traditional roles today won't magically undo decades of societal damage. Men just accepted the collapse and walked away, leaving them stuck with the exact independent reality they demanded.
I'm genuinely serious. When men say that they don't have time to date you because they have a job, I don't understand, what are you doing with your time? And yes, I get a lot of men just say that because they don't like you. I know that. But I know a couple, I know a couple men who are so genuinely serious and they're I don't have time to date. And they literally work their job and go to the gym and maybe one day a week they'll go out with their friends and that's it. I don't understand, what are you literally doing with the rest of your time? It does, because I also work a full-time job. I also, and I go to the gym and I see my friends. I genuinely don't comprehend where is the time going? Where is it going? What do you mean you don't have time? Do you have no hobbies or pleasure outside of work? Because I don't see them doing those either.
The dating market completely collapsed years ago, and there's no fixing it now. Women genuinely can't comprehend why men clock out of work and just disappear into the gym. A quiet evening lifting weights offers absolute peace compared to a society that's already doomed. They're finally realizing men permanently opted out of a rigged game, but it's way too late to salvage anything.
Being single is incredibly expensive, and I'm not talking about just not splitting rent. The entire infrastructure of America is very much set up for couples. It is baked into the foundation of our country and how we have organized things like housing, healthcare, employment, and the social safety net. Start with something like housing. Zoning laws in most American cities effectively mandate single-family homes, which are designed for nuclear families. And places where single people might stay, like studios and one-bedrooms, tend to be less available. And if they are available, they tend to be significantly more expensive per square foot than other units. Or take something like healthcare. Employer-sponsored health programs assume a spouse might need coverage. That is very much baked into how things are priced and subsidized. But single people cannot call their friend and, get on their health insurance plan, right? Like that benefit structure only recognizes one kind of interdependence. And the same with tax policy. It very much compounds all of this. Joint filers get way more tax benefits than single filers. Estate transfers between spouses are tax-free. If I left something to my friend who's been my person for decades, that doesn't matter. They have to pay taxes on it. And what's so interesting is when we talk about the singles tax, we often are thinking about it simply in terms of like splitting groceries or splitting rent. We're not talking about it as a policy category in the same way that we're talking about families. But so many American adults are unmarried. So many of us are struggling or paying more of the singles tax and not thinking about the broader architecture and how it affects us and how we could potentially change it.
Crying about a singles tax completely ignores the brutal financial slaughterhouse waiting at the end of a modern marriage. Paying a premium for a one-bedroom apartment guarantees a guy won't lose half his net worth in a highly biased divorce court. Women desperately want the structural perks and tax breaks of a traditional nuclear family without offering anything of actual value to secure a husband. Men already did the math and realized it's astronomically cheaper to foot the bill alone than to invite a permanent financial liability into their homes.
I don't want to fucking work anymore. I don't want to work anymore. Fucking tired of being on someone's clock. I'm fucking tired of dealing with rude ass people. Even when I used to work in an office, I was fucking tired of dealing with office fucking drama. I don't even want to climb up a corporate ladder. I don't even want to do none of that shit. Literally, give me the most basic job in the fucking company. Give me the most basic job in the company. And let me do the most basic shit. I do not want to be team lead, supervisor, none of that fucking shit. That's how checked out I am from working. Like, I'm 31 years old. I've been working since I was 17. I'm fucking over it.
Proudly aspiring to be the most useless employee in the building completely exposes a terminal case of arrested development. A 31-year-old crying about standard office dynamics sounds exactly like a teenager forced to clean their room. They're literally begging to do the bare minimum while acting completely shocked that surviving in the real world takes effort. Coasting at the absolute bottom of the ladder guarantees a fast track to permanent irrelevance.
It actually costs you more to be single than it does in a relationship, and let me tell you why. Also, yes, I'm in the bathtub. Shut up. When I was living with my roommate in a very nice area, it was a 2-bed, 2-bath, beautiful balcony in a very safe area. All utilities were included, but Wi-Fi. We had a parking stall included as well. The only extra was like a pet fee, which I paid. I now live in a basement, 1 bed, 1 bath, again, in a nice area, just a different nice area. Street parking, no balcony. All utilities are on me. And I pay, depending, on the utilities, because that does vary, but I would say close to $1,600 a month. So yes, it is cheaper to live with your partner or roommate than it is to live by yourself. So for people who think, oh, well, you're single, you don't have to spend money on going out with your partner, buying them gifts, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but I'm paying $500 extra just to live in a place by myself.
Filming a financial complaint from a bathtub perfectly captures the absolute absurdity of treating a relationship like a glorified roommate discount. Complaining about paying full price for a basement apartment just proves that basic adult independence is a massive shock to the system. A romantic partner isn't a coupon code for free Wi-Fi and a reserved parking stall. Whining about a $500 markup to live alone just highlights a desperate need for someone else to subsidize reality.
Be aware of falling into the endless debt of gratitude cycle that comes as a result of a man's ego. Men who have nothing to offer will force you to repeatedly pay for what little they actually do. My ex could be a dead horse into the afterlife, all in the name of feeling appreciated. Then I realized he didn't actually want me to be grateful. He wanted me to be distracted. You see, if I felt like the burden, then I wouldn't realize that he was the one actually drowning. Because the truth is, he was using a title given to him by his family to project an authority that he had not mastered or earned. Turns out, I wasn't a burden. I was the only thing keeping a house of cards from falling. So, I finally stopped trying to feel grateful for a seat at a table that was clearly collapsing.
Rewriting relationship history into a dramatic movie script perfectly deflects all personal accountability. Complaining about an endless debt of gratitude completely backfires, because it's clearly just a desperate plea for a victim medal. If a guy genuinely doesn't have anything to offer except a fake family title, voluntarily pulling up a chair to his collapsing table was entirely a personal choice. Weaponizing therapeutic buzzwords to frame a standard breakup as some heroic rescue mission just exposes a massive fragile ego. Checking out of the modern dating market guarantees absolute immunity from these exhausting smear campaigns where every ex automatically becomes a drowning villain to cover up terrible decision making.
And I ain't gonna lie to you, nobody's ever finna make me feel bad for wanting a nigga that spend that shit, okay? It's a difference between having a nigga that got money and having a nigga that spend that shit. I need a shark, okay? Somebody that overly spends that shit. Never tells me no. I don't even tell myself no. So you think you finna come over here and tell me no? It's not happening. The fuck? I need an overly loaded spender. Send me your biggest spender. Need that. And y'all are never going to make me feel bad for wanting a nigga that spends that shit. I feel like I'm very deserving. I work very hard. I take care of all my own shit already. So if you're going to come around, you for sure going to be spending something. You got to make my life easier, okay? And if I'm not struggling by myself, I'm for damn sure not going to be struggling with your ass. I can't do shit with a little nigga. I can't do shit with a broke nigga. I need a spender. A shark, preferably. Okay, I'm tired of fucking around with Nemo and them. I cannot. I have no more tolerance in me for anybody. All that, oh, you gotta wait till Friday. I don't even make myself wait till Friday. What the fuck are we even talking about? I need it now. Thank ya. And come fucked already too, because we ain't doing that.
Unmasked greed completely strips away any fake disguise of romance and exposes the exact predatory trap guys successfully escaped, broadcasting a loud demand for a bottomless bankroll while explicitly refusing to offer physical intimacy represents the absolute peak of modern delusion. Wealthy men protect their assets with ruthless precision, and they certainly don't build empires just to fund a permanent shopping spree for an aggressively entitled dependent. Hearing this level of brazen exploitation serves as pure vindication, confirming that securing your own wealth and walking away remains the smartest decision a man can possibly make.
If you are in the dating scene, I want you to pay attention to one thing that is very specific. I want you to be able to identify between a man that is a natural, generous provider, where the idea, and I know now we use like the word provider and providing very lightly, but what I'm trying to say here is that this value is actually engraved in him. It is a belief of his. He wants to be the man. He wants to be in your life and kind of do things for you and you know, be the man of your life, right? And between someone who maybe he wasn't born with this value but had to adjust and kind of adapt to this value to be able to be with a woman like you, thinking that, yeah, I have to do this, otherwise I won't be able to get the woman I want. And this is very, very important. And on the long run, the second type, the man who had to adjust to this value and kind of adapt this value, on the long run, this value will turn into abit, will turn into something that he's carrying in a way, and it will turn into resentment. The first type, the more they do, the more they give, the more they lift, is the more they love. You know, they come hand in hand together. The second type, with time, the more they're doing, it actually ends up exhausting them, and it actually ends up creating some sort, like I said, some sort of resentment. And why I can give my 2 cents is because unfortunately my type has always been white Europeans. So for the majority of my life, I've dated that second type who in the beginning they try to put on this kind of value that they don't truly believe in, they didn't grow up with. And with time, after years and years, it turns into resentment. It turns into something they don't want to do on the long run. They don't want to fake this persona on the long run. You as a woman, the most expensive thing you can give someone is your time. You don't want to be wasting your prime on the second type of man who's putting on a persona just to kind of hold you and lock you in until it's too late, until there's attachment and it's difficult to leave, and when all these things come to the surface, when the true values come to the surface, you know what I mean? Be smarter with dating, like truly be smarter. Don't just fall for a persona. Just make sure it's a real belief and value engraved in this man to be the man that you want and need.
Framing a man's financial resentment as a personality defect completely ignores what happens when a terrible return on investment finally becomes obvious. Guys eventually wake up and close their wallets the second they realize a woman genuinely believes her mere physical presence is the most valuable commodity on the table. There's no grand persona being faked just to trap someone in a relationship. They're simply snapping out of the illusion and pulling the plug on a totally one-sided deal. Hunting for a unicorn who's somehow biologically hardwired to enjoy functioning as a human ATM just proves the absolute delusion driving the market. Watching this frantic search for a guy oblivious enough to happily pay the toll validates every single reason to keep your peace and stay completely off the roster.